Warning, the following communications are not authorized. Please disable your signals and report to your local re-education center immediately. Failure to comply will result in immediate reprimand and capital punishment.
Welcome back. Welcome back. I don't know if I mean the Mace version, the 70s version, or wherever that's from, but we're back. Eric Butler.
Probably Mace.
Opine.
Has to be Mace.
Of course, has to be Mace. Murder Mace. Before he was pretty. That's how Diddy named him, you know. And then he fled to Florida to avoid being murdered. Everybody's life story, including yours, Eric Butler. You fled South Dakota for Arizona. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Phoenix, the greater Phoenix Suns area.
True. Yes, absolutely. And so far, so good. It's definitely hot.
That's all you have to report. It's hot.
Well, there's clearly more. It's more lively, right? I mean, by far. Obviously, New York is the big city, hustle and bustle, garbage, rats, roaches, bums, all that stuff. South Dakota had pretty much none of that, and Phoenix lies somewhere in between. So far, so good. So far, so good.
You mentioned, is there anything exciting happen on the trip at all? I mean, how long of a drive is that?
It was almost a day, like 22 hours. We stopped in Colorado. Luckily, there was nothing eventful. Not like when I tried to go to the Trump rally back in right before the election, and that's how I got stranded in Wisconsin for election night. But yeah, nothing out of the ordinary. It was a pretty smooth trip. I'll say that.
And do you have your own car? Did you take a bus?
No, I have a car.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Yeah.
From New York. Who knows if you have a car?
Yeah, dude, I had a car in California. Oddly enough, because I do not know how to plan my life properly, I bought a car only shortly before I moved to New York because I was having a midlife crisis or something. So I bought a car. Then I went to New York. The car lived with my parents. They were taking care of it, quote unquote, taking care of it. And then when I had no choice but to leave New York, my family graciously shipped it all the way across the country to me to New York, and then I drove it to South Dakota, and then I drove it from South Dakota here. So, but luckily, the car doesn't get like daily mileage. Like I don't commute, 30 miles to work. So the only miles that the car has is basically a couple long road trips. So knock on wood that it'll be with me for the foreseeable future.
I've never shipped a car. It sounds like some white privilege to me. I don't know. That's just me. That's just what it sounds like to me. If we want to get into it, the topic off the top is Joy Behar, whose views we love here on Unauthorized Opinions. The View, Joy Behar, Whoopi Goldberg. Who else is on there? I don't even remember their names.
Well,
Anna Navarro.
McCain. Oh, she's
Meghan McCain's not on it anymore. Anna
But
Navarro.
that was recently, right? Though, like, wasn't that just like a couple weeks ago or a month or so ago?
I think so, yeah. Just bringing out the neocon. That's the only reason why she was allowed on there, because she was basically the same, but had to have like 3 different opinions was required. But Joy Behar basically said that black people shouldn't have a problem with this because the experiment's been done on white people. We'll bring this up. It's a stupid statement. This is from Post Millennial, who there's no need to read what they have. We'll just listen to the clip.
Their minds are already made
this?
up not to get the shot.
I think it absolutely will help. Polling from Kaiser found that knowing someone who became seriously ill from COVID or died from the virus are among the most powerful factors motivating that vaccine-hesitant people. And it reminds me of the days when you learned how to drive with the drunk driving, when they leave an accident out, or they'd show you those videos of texting when you're driving, also smoking commercials, the PSAs. And you can't unsee those, and they grip you from the inside. I think this will absolutely help.
Well, 2 things.
Do those smoking commercials really do anything to anybody?
Show it on Hannity's show and Tucker's, and let those people who are trying to own the libs see what will happen if they don't get it.
You're going to die if you don't agree with us.
I was reading that a lot of people, they don't take the vaccine because they're afraid of the vaccine. Yeah. Now they're going to be afraid of not taking the vaccine. The question is, which fear will win?
It's got to be fear, right, Eric?
I agree. I think the fear.
This is painful to watch.
Always
I'm getting a little
scared
bit
straight. Yeah. I remember growing up. Remember the woman Terry who had the voice, her larynx removed.
Yeah.
And she would speak through the voice box.
Yeah.
I'll just never forget that. I also remember the ad campaign. This is your brain.
On
this
drugs,
is your brain
the
on
egg.
drugs with the egg on the.
So
on
these
the
worked
street,
on them, is what they're
frying.
saying.
That works. Fear works, unfortunately.
Oh, fear's
I was
fine, you
shocked
guys.
to learn
Fear
that
campaigns are good.
44% of Americans haven't taken the vaccine. That's almost half of the country. You know, and I really think that they're holding the rest of us hostage. And so they're not going to do the right thing unless, I guess, they're scared into it, because there are still people that think it's a hoax, or that they're going to get it and it's kind of like the flu. And it's not. You can die from it.
Yeah.
And we know that.
And look,
You can die from
we've
it
tried
also.
practically every other
Can't
method,
say that.
right? I mean, it's like,
Oh, sorry.
It's been like the Oprah show, you know, cars, scholarships. I mean, what have they not given
Don't
out?
forget guns in Virginia.
Right, guns in Virginia.
That's right.
We've tried mandates. We've tried begging and pleading with people. We've tried celebrities. We've tried pastors. So now I think, you know, fear is a very good toolbox.
Oh, my
tool
God.
to have in your toolbox. And I realized early there he is. They brought
This
in
is her talking about how
Admiral
a
Juan
Portuguese
Colbert,
admiral was used for
African-American
propaganda.
community, who has been burnt in the past by the Tuskegee experiment and by things coming out that have harmed them. I don't blame that community for being skittish about it. But I say that so many white people have gotten it now. You know, the experiment has been done on white people now.
Although the black community, I have read, the vaccine hesitancy is lower, and the black community is now being vaccinated at a higher rate than any other community in the country.
Well, you know.
Gotta add in that propaganda there, Eric, at the end of, no, don't worry, it's working. Joy Behar understands black people, doesn't she?
Yeah, she's shout out to John Doyle, a black person expert, you know? This is so painful to watch. Like, I hadn't seen that clip. I heard about her saying that, but I didn't actually watch the clip. And it's painful to watch them because they just won't. They will not let this go. This is their last. This is their last like little strain of power. This is where all of their power comes from at this point. This is. I mean, they have nothing. Could you imagine if the virus? If people were to. I mean. Honestly, I think if you took an honest poll of people in all of the country, all of the states between California and New York, you would realize that most people are completely over it. But people like this, obviously the political class, they have to continue this, because if they let this go, they have absolutely nothing left. The racism card doesn't work anymore. The women's stuff doesn't work anymore. The abortion stuff doesn't work anymore because of the arguments that they've made about transgenderism. None of that stuff works anymore. So they have to continue to play the Rona card. And Joy Behar, just like Biden or whatever, Kamala, the whole establishment, the idea that people just simply don't want to do it is completely lost on them. They cannot fathom that somebody just doesn't want it, just doesn't need it. They don't. There's always this overarching reason. Oh, they're scared of this, or they're scared of that, or look, I get it. I know about the Tuskegee experiment, but I don't need a history lesson on the Tuskegee experiment to make me know that I don't need this particular drug or shot or whatever you want to call it. I don't need it, and I don't need a history lesson to tell me that. I can see it with my own two eyes, and I probably bring it up every week, but seeing that empty testing facility, which I think is kind of like how you and I met, was me tracking that empty testing facility that was a complete scam. Like, I saw it with my own two eyes. I saw the lies on the news that did not add up when I went to that testing site. So why can't they just come to terms with, yeah, some people have, and they keep using the term hesitant. I personally am not hesitant at all. I'm not doing it, period. That's it. I'm not on the fence. It's not going to happen. So they're going to have to, I won't get too extreme, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's part of what I was going to say, Eric, is that they mentioned 46% of the country won't do it or won't take it, and they can't figure out why. We've thrown all the propaganda at you we can. We've used pastors. We've used celebrities. I can't believe you guys didn't listen to celebrities. They can't believe that half the country won't listen to celebrities or pastors or commercials that are like, I said it during it, the person with the hole in their throat or the drunk driving commercials. Regular people know cigarettes are harmful to you. Regular people know not to drink and drive. Regular people know that if you eat too many chocolate bars, you might get a lot of pimples, which was a commercial we had here in Canada for a long time. Some people think I eat too many chocolate bars or that I don't wash my face. That was the commercial. People know. These are just people spinning their own wheels and wanting to try to do something about it. Let's do something we can do with government money. Let's throw it at it somehow to convince people not to smoke cigarettes, etc. But they can't bring themselves, like you said, to understand that maybe just 40% of the country of the population doesn't want it. They can understand that 45% of the country more likes Trump. They're more willing to accept that. These people just like Trump. They're insane. They're never going to change their mind. They're willing to accept that, but they can't accept this. Why? I don't know. All these places, all these shows seem like that they're getting something from it. Best case scenario, they think they're being good people by convincing other people to do this. What they don't seem to do is look at the statistics. What they don't seem to do is look at the cost benefit analysis of, and we have to be careful now because of YouTube's new rules, because Joe Biden's the greatest president of all time and the vaccine's the greatest thing to ever happen to humanity since sliced bread, I'm told. But
that's true.
It's true. I prefer Villaggio as my bread of choice. I don't know if they have that there. But what I'm trying to say is they can't comprehend this, and they think they're doing the right thing. But it seems to me that the people who are so vehemently in favor of this and want everybody, to lose their health care or lose their jobs, that's the only thing they didn't mention because they know they're going to get in trouble. You don't listen to doctors, celebrities, blah, blah, blah. Maybe the fear will work. They don't see anything wrong with saying that we need to use fear to scare people and to control people. They're one breath away from saying we need to fire people and maybe they'll learn. They know they can't get away with saying that, even though most of their audience doesn't work at all because it's on during the middle of the day. I don't know who's TiVoing The View to watch it later. But they don't care.
I don't know who's using a TiVo at all. I think it's
digital now, right?
That's throwback.
How dare you? But they don't look into the statistics, or else you would understand why people might have hesitancy. You might understand why people have the opinion of, which is obviously crazy, you guys, YouTube. And I hate that we have to say stuff like that, but they don't understand why people might make these choices for their children. NBA players might make certain choices. Maybe NBA is a banned word now. Healthy people might make certain choices. Women who are pregnant or looking to become pregnant or were just pregnant might make certain choices that they disagree with. Even if it's half of the country, they can't seem to understand it, Eric. So they think there's no saving anybody else, but there's no saving them in terms of believing in personal freedoms and freedom in general for the rest of the population. They just think, we're so right on this. And because celebrities and the government and whomever else say this, that it must be right, because if they step outside that realm of they're not right about everything, then all of a sudden it all falls apart. If you've got Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, MTV, CBS, NBC, ABC, all these channels saying the same thing, all of a sudden, if we're not right about this, then what about all these other things that we're pushing on you, pretending as if there's no other side to it? Because that's the huge thing, is pretending as if there's no other point of view. And maybe you remember this. I remember this from a time where I didn't see things as two sides of every story. I would see things as, if every late night talk show host is saying this and every person saying this, then that's the point of view. That's the normal point of view. People who disagree with that, it's somehow Republicans get into office. I have no idea. They're just the crazy people, and there's a lot of them. But it's gotten to this point now where you can't really hide behind that anymore. And how many people voted for Trump, and how many people get elected in all these places, Brazil and Canada. And you still have to pretend as if there's 200 million people, 150 million people that completely disagree with you, are on the opposite side, but you're still so vehemently right. I'm willing to accept that other people who disagree with me might be right sometimes, but they're certainly not Democrats, because every time they comes across as a Democrat, they're not a person I respect. They're not a person I would vote for. They're not a person I would go to for an intellectual, a set of information or ideals. And they're not people that look into things. It's just how it is. And then anarchists and communists would agree with me when you see people interviewing them in the streets and they say, oh, you must be a Democrat. And they're like, no, I hate Democrats too. because the communists might not have everything thought out. The anarchists might not have thought of like the logical ending to where they're going, but they certainly can tell that Democrats are full of shit and that they don't have any real opinions. They're just going with the flying by the seat of their pants, going with everybody else says is cool.
Well, but that's why the censorship. I mean, we're dealing with a brand new rule, and that's a result of that. Like they know that there is an deep down, they all know they go on the air and they pretend that there couldn't possibly be another opinion. We also see it in the school board meetings, right, where they force people, if you want to talk, you have to wear a mask. So you've already lost the battle, right? You know that the mask is stupid. You know that it doesn't work, but you have to wear it to even get your point across, which means you've already lost. And that is why the censorship is happening, is because they know that these opinions exist contrary to theirs, but they want other people to think that they don't. So you can't say certain things on YouTube. You can't say certain things on Facebook, Twitter, all the platforms. And another thing about what Joy Behar said is, outside of everything that you said, another thing is that she said that, oh, the experiment has already been done on white people, but not really. It's been a couple months. I mean, we're talking about things that need years of monitoring. And, you know, if people started doing this in January, it's been 10 months or whatever. Yeah, I mean, a little bit, but is that really sufficient research for something that you're forcing on people? I mean, you got Gavin Newsom out there forcing it on children. He jumped out in front of it. He said, well, as soon as it gets approved by the FDA, we're going to do it. It's like, why are you so eager to do this? Like, can you let the quote unquote science play out before you start making tyrannical rules? And I've actually been making a list of things that Newsom, because not to toot my own horn, it wasn't easy. It wasn't difficult to see that Newsom was obviously going to go, you know, turn the tyranny up to 11 once he beat the recall. So he immediately eliminated single family zoning. He allowed kids to get this weirdo surgery without parental control, the tampon thing, the Los Angeles County mandates for gyms. And I mean, as soon as he beat it, they just went crazy with the mandates. And for what? Is it just to, because obviously, I mean, look, we know that it's not really helping anybody. I can't imagine it's really bringing in any more money. So it's just a maniacal control issue that I can't seem to wrap my head around. I mean, I don't know how he gained. I'm sure maybe there is a way that this results in monetary gain for him. I'm not sure what it is, but the point I'm making is, the quote unquote experiment that Joy Behar said has already happened among white people has just barely, like, we scratched the surface. These things are supposed to take, what, 3 to 5 years at minimum? So that's not even really true, on top of how stupid it is that she's still trying to, I guess, protect black people by kind of saying, okay, well, all the white people did it, so now you got to do it. It's your turn. Like they tasted the food before us to make sure that it was safe. I mean, it's obviously completely insane. And right now, I think we can both agree that there is no end in sight to this madness. It's like the new climate change.
We talked about the Chappelle special before we went on. You haven't seen it. I have. It's Joy Behar tries to talk to black people the way Dave Chappelle does his impression of white people. Well, if you just listen to me, then everything's going to be fine. Or his white impression is always great. But like, she thinks this is what black people need to hear. Oh, if black people hear the experiment's been done on white people because they hate and distrust white people so much that they're going to think it's great and hilarious that we've already experimented on. Like, she's going with the pretext that black people are okay with something being experimented on white people. Like, that's insane. If you were to say that the other way around, white people, don't worry, black people have been experimented on before, so you're safe. She's fired, she's canceled immediately. But the other way around, she thinks she's being funny and cute. This is not a comedy show she's on. It's not even a news show. It's a otherwise unemployed women talking in front of a camera getting paid millions of dollars because they have backgrounds in which people think they should trust them. Whoopi Goldberg was an actress. I don't know where that comes across. Like, they used to have a football player's wife who was like the Bachelorette or something on The View as well. Like, I get that you can just get random people's opinions and they can be valuable, but what credibility do these people have to throw them into a news setting and talk about news stories? Like, you can throw in Anderson Cooper and Don Lemon and like they do news shows. But if I start pulling out Brett Favre and a former NFL quarterback with guy who invented Mr. Peanut and then the Parker Brothers family who have board game experience and put them together and be like hard-hitting news show, everybody's going to be like, yeah, we know who they are, but why do I respect their opinion? It's the same thing with like Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless on friggin' ESPN there. Like they get constantly like they're constantly wrong, but for some reason they think that their sports show should be about politics. I don't get it. I don't know why anyone should listen to them. I don't know where they think that people should listen to them. Joy Behar, you're not like, first of all, why isn't Whoopi Goldberg the one saying like how to communicate with black people about this?
Well, I'm not going to sit here and defend the View, but in their defense, the actual news media personalities have become so untrustworthy. It's
That's
probably
fair.
better to have somebody who's not in it now. Obviously, Joy, they're all. I don't even know if they're stupid or if they're just. Maybe it's. This is always the.
I think Joy is stupid. I think Anna Navarro is faking it, and I think Whoopi Goldberg is honest, but not. Like she's the closest thing to something respectable on that show. I think Joy Behar is not as intelligent in terms of this stuff, in terms of the topic she talks about. And I think Anna Navarro just plays pretend and she just plays the
conservative.
Exactly.
She doesn't, I mean, does she still identify that she can't, right? Like I think way back in the day when they first started this, her and McCain, of course, were Republicans, air quote Republicans, but obviously
I'm not sure either.
I don't think that she could even pretend to be a conservative at this point. I mean,
no, everybody would be like, name one conservative ally you have or are friends with.
And then she would just
Mitt Romney.
Yeah, exactly. Mitt Romney. And then I'm sure they like this Kinzinger or whatever, Adam Kinzinger, the guy who cried about January 6th. And I mean, those are the people. So it's all fake. Like you said, they're pretending. But the only thing that I could think of that would make them credible is the fact that the actual news personalities are so not incredible, but not credible.
Non-credible, yeah.
Non-credible, exactly. So it's a mess, bro. That's all we have. Literally everything is a complete mess. Obviously, I do think that in the middle of the country, things are probably fairly normal. Like even back in South Dakota, things are fairly normal. But we, as we all know, the media hubs of Los Angeles and New York dominate the news cycle. So they foist these things on us, and it's probably not real. I continue to bring back the that old meme of the guy with the raincoat on and an umbrella because the news is telling him it's raining, but right outside of his window it's sunny because they're foisting this fear and all of this division on us. But when you go actually talk to people, you will realize that stuff's not true. Even, like I said, in Brooklyn, you can go talk to the guys smoking a joint outside a bodega, and they're not going to be buying this vaccine stuff and this Rona and all this propaganda they know, but they continue to tell us that everybody's afraid of it and everybody's going to die. Now, I am hearing, I will admit, I haven't read the article yet, and I don't know how every week I somehow bring up an article that I didn't send you, but it just happens that way, is that Fauci is now like saying that cases may go down and like kind of taking his foot off the gas a little bit. I'm not really sure. So maybe we could look into that next week. But also by next week, Fauci will have flip-flopped 3 more times. So who knows?
That's true. I just want to say things are not normal here. Our country is infected coast to coast, figuratively, in my sense that I'm speaking, and they're rolling out. They've pushed it back now. The end of November is where you can't fly or take a train inside the country. They're also saying you can't fly out of the country without vaccine passports. So they're basically locking you inside your own country, which of course goes against our Charter of Rights and Freedoms, but that doesn't seem to matter anymore. It's not as concrete as a real constitution in the United States, but things are not normal here.
They've been, wiping their asses with the Constitution. So if you have a document that is not, think about it. If the Constitution is supposed to be set in stone, it's not. Pelosi and all the Democrats and even Republicans, of course, they all stomp all over it. And if you have a document that's not even as strong as that, then and a guy like Trudeau, or I don't know what the like senators and Congress people that equivalent is like.
Senators don't matter here. We have senators; they don't matter at all.
So it won't stand a chance. These people do not care about that, and it's sad.
Well, from what I see in the U.S., even in California, when they're trying to limit church gatherings, that got held up by the Supreme Court, like in favor of the churches. The Texas abortion bill got held up by the Supreme Court. Like, it seems to me that in certain places in the U.S., the Constitution and the Bill of Rights still matters. Whereas in Canada, they say an emergency, okay, we've justified it's an emergency, nothing else matters. It says at the very top of the Charter of Rights that this is all subject to an emergency order. That's not verbatim, but everything we do is subject to a national emergency. And sure, when this was written, they're thinking of a world war. We're not in a world war. That's why across the country, they had emergency acts put in place. And then when they take out state of emergencies, they have a new act. In Ontario, it's called the Reopening Ontario Act, which still allows for things like cops can pull you over and ask you where you're going if they want to, and ask you, and on the basis of health concerns in emergency, they can say you have to go home, or you can't go here, or I can arrest you, or I can fine you for being in an illegal gathering. None of that stuff's even talked about anymore. Masks are never discussed. Taking off masks is never discussed. We have a university that's like an hour away from here that said, paper masks were only up to 10% effective, and N95 masks were only up to 50% effective.
Can't say that. You can't say that.
This is something a university an hour away from here, the University of Waterloo. I'll try to look it up in a second. There's no evidence required for this stuff, and none of it ever gets talked about. Only thing people talk about now is they keep moving the goalpost further and further and more extreme. Oh, you can't go to school without it. You can't go to work. The unions are getting sued and they're folding over it. Just everything is mandatory this and mandatory that. And half the country agrees with it. Now, I'm going to say that we need more propaganda and more celebrities to come out. Do we need Ryan Reynolds and Justin Bieber and Mike Myers and Drake? Keeping in mind, none of them, except for Ryan Reynolds, have come out and said anything. The Canadian celebrities have been pretty good about this stuff. Do I think that convincing them is what's required? No, I don't think convincing them is what's required. I understand that they disagree with me. They just don't believe in freedom. They don't believe in inalienable rights. And if that's how you want to live, that's how you want to be, is you don't get gun rights, you don't get freedom of speech, you don't get freedom of movement, you don't get to, live however you want unless the government says it's safe to do so, then that's just how you want to live. I suggest you go live, I guess, just in Canada now. But before this, I would have said, go live in Northern Europe, go live in Russia if you want the government to be able to tell you exactly what you want to do. There's so many countries where you can do that. Canada is now one of them. There's nothing like the United States. There's nothing like Florida, Tennessee, South Dakota, first of all. And then I'd say a tier down from that is Arizona and Texas, and probably a few other red states I'm forgetting about. But there's nothing like that anywhere else in the world. If you want to say, and I'm saying that Arizona is tier 2 where you are now, Canada is like tier 5 now, where it's, you can do most things. You can have your guns. You can have your freedom of speech. You can have your personal sovereignty. 3 more layers down from that is where we are, where so long as the government says, I think it's dangerous for you to get on a plane, even though there's been no confirmed cases getting caught on a plane, and they have recirculated air with these giant filters because you're on a plane. And even though our head health minister said it's safe on a plane, you can't get on one. You can't get on one without evidence of this.
Was it Rebel, or was it somebody who, there was a clip floating around of a woman admitting that these passports are not because any of these places are dangerous, but just pure coercion? I forget where that was posted.
You might be thinking of the Australian police officer that retired. I don't know. A lot of people are going to say it's coercion. I don't think anybody in our government really says that on the national level. And look, I get it if people disagree. If this is what the country is now, then I don't want to be here. If everybody moved from LA to Texas and Florida and Arizona, there's just nowhere to move in Canada, or else I would. I won't even say who, but a couple of my friends, I can say, moved out to Alberta because they predicted that things would get worse in Ontario. And so they moved to Alberta, and all of a sudden Alberta is the worst place to be. Alberta actually said unvaccinated people can't congregate with one another. They privately, not that you can't go to an unvaccinated event. You can't go unvaccinated house to a different unvaccinated house in the province of Alberta, the Texas of Canada, the most conservative province in the country. You can't even speak to people in person that you want to speak to.
That's
where this country
unenforceable.
is. Maybe exactly it is, but they think that this is the right thing to do, or they're being paid. And I've reminded myself, Eric, that now things are starting to come out. In Ontario, Doug Ford, big fat guy, his brother dead, everybody loved him. No, that's his brother Rob Ford, who was the mayor of Ontario.
Okay.
Was on Jimmy Kimmel and everything because he was so hilarious. Younger brother Doug Ford, alleged to be a hash dealer in high school, came out to run for the premier, so a governor. Everybody loved him. He's a normal guy. He's just like, hey, let's stop all the political correctness about everything. Gets elected with flying colors. Now I can't listen to my doctors or else I'll get crucified. Said that, not verbatim. Said, I don't know anybody who politically won't listen to doctors or else you lose your job. Now it's coming out that his top policy advisor is an advocate for big pharma. He works for an agency that gets contracts for big pharma. He's complaining that like, oh, it's not Pfizer, it's actually Moderna. It's like he's trying to parse words saying it's actually different companies. He's not directly involved in the case. The guy works for a lobbying firm for pharmaceutical companies, the one that sells vaccines to our country. His argument, well, they're actually selling them federally. We don't buy the vaccines. You're the top policy advisor and you work for pharmaceutical companies, allegedly, everybody. This is the stuff that's coming out. This is the questions that everybody had. How come these politicians who are supposed to be conservative are going out and making these anti-freedom choices, condemning everybody who doesn't agree with them, shutting down businesses? Because it's coming out. The people who are around them are getting paid by pharmaceutical companies.
That's
was it that big of a mystery? Did Scooby-Doo have to come in here to figure that out?
It's like a Kathy Hochul's daughter-in-law, right?
New York governor?
Yeah, Governor. I just pulled it up. Governor Kathy Hochul, whatever. Governor Kathy Hochul's daughter-in-law is top lobbyist at pharma firm that has sought to influence New York lawmakers. This was from August. This was from the day, if I recall correctly, Cuomo stepped down on August 24th. This is a CNBC article from that very same day. So, and I jokingly posted to my Instagram a while ago that clip of Andrew Cuomo saying, if you got the shot, then maybe you don't have to worry about people who didn't because the shot works. And that was the moment that they knew that Cuomo had to go. Because even that little bit of common sense was too much for this establishment. I've learned a new word, by the way. One of my Arizona friends is calling the establishment or the left or the Democratic Party, or I don't even want to call them Democrats because obviously Trudeau and all the Canadian, Australia, the whole establishment, we're now calling them the uppers. So it's like they're that's the Arizona slang that I've learned since I've been here is that the uppers, they span the whole globe. Obviously, it's not just. I wish, and this, I, of course, thought at the beginning how naive I was that I thought this was about Donald Trump. And looking back, I wish it were about Donald Trump. But this is obviously a much bigger global agenda. Klaus Schwab and all these weirdos, Soros, whatever these people, the uppers. So that's what I'm calling them now. I'm running with that.
It seems to me, based on the research I've been doing lately, that it's large corporations like pharmaceutical companies, but not only them, credit card companies, banks, Microsoft, Amazon. It's just they're saying, hey, we're going to make you guys so much money in tax revenue. We're going to give you so many benefits and whatever they may be, figure them out for yourself, that these are the policies we want you to push. And above them is the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, World Economic Forum. They're bringing in these companies and they're saying, let's get together and let's make a list of demands for countries and for politicians. And these are the policies we want you to put forth. And for whatever reason, they seem to be climate change and carbon-based policies. I'm not sure why. It's like they they don't want people to go outside anymore. All of it from what I read, and this is from all these other industries and all the demands and all the Build Back Betters from England to New Zealand to Canada to Joe Biden. They all seem to want this thing where it's like everything is AI and everything is work from home. They're saying we don't want to get into this position again where people can't go to work anymore. So we need to figure out how everybody can work from home and make money for us. And at the same time, climate change and carbon taxing. It's like we don't want anyone to go outside, but we still want you to buy things and make money for us. And then let's leave the roads to rich people. Let's leave the flying to rich people. Let's leave steak and beef to rich people. We don't want to share that anymore because we don't know how to keep the prices down because we don't make money anymore. We don't know how to make it sustainable because there's too many people. It's like they really want to separate everything into not just a high class, because we know there's baseball players. We went over this one week that are making guaranteed $200 million over 5 years, right? That's not high enough anymore. We need to cut off the people who are on the verge of being billionaires. We got to get super elite now. We got to get to the Amazon, Microsoft, MasterCard level where we're only in the billions now, and this is only the stuff we get to do. Only Elon and Richard Branson get to see space, Eric. You'll never see space. Are you okay with that? Are you okay with them keeping space away from you, man? Is that what you guys are about now? I feel like John Doyle now. Is that what you guys want now? You want the liberals and the Republicans to keep you out of space? That's what you think you can do? That's where you want to live? You're going to let them stop you from seeing the stars, man. You're going to stop them from seeing you in your dreams, man. You think that the Democrats and the Republicans, you think that Donald Trump, and you think, Eric, do you think that Barack Obama should be able to keep you out of space, man? Is that what you think?
Well, doesn't this all add up, right? Because didn't we see, was it one of the old Project Veritas clips where they caught, fact check me on this, but basically after Rona propaganda, after Rona fear died down, they were going to switch to climate change again. And then
yeah, that was CNN guy. Yeah.
CNN guy. And then of course, after they say that you must agree that vaccines save lives and there's nothing can go wrong, nothing has ever went wrong. Vaccines are perfect. That became a rule. And then what was it? It was a week or so later that they said also you can't disagree with climate change. So it all adds up, right? Like a month ago, it was, right? I don't even know if it was a month ago now, but everything about vaccines is perfect. Okay, agreed. And then fast forward 2 weeks, everything that whatever the UN says about climate change, you have to agree with that too. Now, they didn't say they were going to so you get kicked off for disagreeing with vaccines, but you get demonetized for disagreeing with climate change, which of course the next step will be to get rid of you if you say exactly that climate change isn't. So I guess we're right on track. This is perhaps, I don't know if we have any old clips of Alex Jones calling this, but it feels like something that he probably said in 2008 or, many years ago, and everybody thought he was crazy, which he is crazy, right? I think we all know, but that's part of the charm, right?
Part of the love. I found the mask study that I was talking about so people don't think I'm nuts. And this is what you can show people. YouTube. All I did was special little DuckDuckGo Waterloo mask study. Waterloo is a university in Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. The article is called Study Supports Widespread Use of Better Masks to Curb COVID-19 Indoors. Of course, they're titling that because for people who aren't going to read it, they want you to be like, oh, that's what it's about. However, the study showed that the most common masks, primarily due to problems with fit, filter about 10% of exhaled aerosol droplets. And this is a newer study. Where are we going to get the date on this? It's only a couple months old. I'll find the date for you after if you guys are so upset with this. Let's just find it now. We have 5 days of study there, 13 days. Do we have a date on this?
These are really recent.
August. August is what Breitbart is citing it at. So filter out 10% of exhaled aerosol droplets. The remaining aerosols are redirected, mostly at the top of the mask where it fits over the nose, and escape into the ambient air and filter. So they show, I guess there's a video. I didn't know that was going to happen. But basically what the graphic is showing that it just goes all up into your face. There you go. So you're sneezing. That's without a mask, it looks like. This is really cool. I didn't know this was the thing. Somebody just really spraying out of their nose here.
The droplets, all the droplets.
Let's see where this goes. Is it going to be this? Yeah, there's a no mask flow. There's the mask.
Yeah.
So 90% of what's happening is going up into your own face and just out into the air anyways. It's just going up and instead of down at first, and then it all falls down anyways. All falls down by Kanye West. Good reference for Eric. And this is your surgical mask. Was that a different mask they were using? Yeah, this is a KN95, and we haven't gotten to that before. So this is a KN95, which is the best mask you can have just, off the shelf that there's a shortage of. So KN95. And then they get to a surgical mask, which is just your paper mask. And as you can see, it all seeps out from the front and it all comes out from the top. So 90% of what you're getting here is coming out everywhere. KN95, 50% at best is coming out through the top. This is working out way better. Thank you, University of Waterloo. So what they said here, for the rest of it, 50. So we got the 10%. That's about surgical masks. By contrast, higher quality, more expensive N95 and KN95 mask filters more than 50% of the exhaled aerosols that can be accumulated indoors.
This feels a little racist. Like we might be,
But Eric, N95s aren't required. You can go in. It used to be like this if you wanted to. This was fine. A handkerchief or a scarf, this was fine. This was on all the billboards. That's fine. The studies existed that said surgical masks didn't do anything in surgical settings. The cleanest, most pristine environments, the surgical settings, they didn't help. They didn't do anything. So up to 10% for a piece of paper surgical mask. That's it. Yes, that's something, but is that worth arresting people over?
Well, obviously not. But my thing is, the graphics are cool. Love the study, right? We can use that as evidence. But nobody needs a study from Waterloo to prove this. I mean, you could put on one of those blue paper masks and go spray paint a chair and see if you could smell it. Go cut the grass and see if you could smell it. I mean, go put on a paper mask and start cooking up some bacon and see if you can smell it. It's not rocket science. Okay.
And I wonder why BLM knows that there shouldn't be these mandates. Probably because they've been pepper sprayed and they know that a mask doesn't work. Listen, I told people before, like a year ago, when they test you with tear gas in the military, an N95 isn't going to protect you, and the droplets are so big from the pepper spray that you can see them floating around in the air. You can see it, let alone a microscopic virus. Let alone a microscopic virus. I would love to just be able to put on my piece of paper here and stand in the tear gas chamber and be fine, but it burns your entire skin and everything it touches.
So can I just say though, before I left New York, which is crazy how fast the time flew by, but when I left New York, one of the last things I did was I went to a Trump boat parade in New Jersey, and we stopped off at a Dunkin' Donuts before we went to the parade.
This all sounds very Jersey.
So we're in the Dunkin' Donuts, and the guys are forcing us to put on masks to order iced coffee. And I'm not joking. We put on Dunkin' Donuts paper napkins in front of our faces, and then they let us order the coffee. Like, just think about how useless this all is. Like, we literally grabbed napkins from the napkin dispenser and put them like this and said, "I would like a large iced coffee," and then they wouldn't give us thought. Like, think about how insane this all is. And really quick, this is random. It's going to come out of left field, but maybe you have a little insight on this because I'm, watching what's happening in Australia through rebel affiliate Yemeni.
Avi Yemeni. Wow, Eric.
Yeah, great guy. But I am genuinely curious. Well, because his clips are funny. He's like talking to the cops and about his cool haircut and his shoes and stuff. It's kind of funny. But how is it possible? And my buddy George brought this up. How is it possible that people are getting tackled? So we know that the media will get a pass, right? So they're allowed to document what's going on. But how is it possible that they're not all over him about the mask? You see him talking, face to face with a cop. The cop's wearing a mask. He's not wearing a mask, but they're not attacking him. How is he getting the mask exemption on top of the media press exemption? How's that happening?
He's controlled opposition by the UN. No, so in Australia, for whatever reason, when you're performing, you don't have to wear a mask. So when you're performing the news, when you're talking into a microphone, you don't have to wear a mask.
So the mask could wear a microphone, like Greta. The
Exactly. The mask needs to be protected. But yeah, they've arrested him before for this because they want to say it, and they check him for all his papers, and they try to kick him out of places because he's not wearing a mask, and he knows the rules. There's lawyers there. If you're on the news, you're performing, if you're holding the microphone, or in this case, a delicious Nestle Pure Life water,
cut the check.
You don't have to. It's actually not very good. I've read that, quote unquote, this it's like it's tap water basically.
Well, I have a tap here with little Brita filtration.
Oh, so you're getting the fluoride in there. The fluoride's taking over. Eric is controlled. He's promoting fluoridization of the water in Arizona. That's why he's there. He's not part of the Patriots recall or recount efforts. He's part of the fluoride push. No, so you can basically get he's allowed to not wear a mask because he's on camera. So, and Rebel is so popular in Australia, like so insanely popular because they have nobody else. If you think about it, like places like the UK and Australia, they don't have a Rebel News. They do now. They don't have a Breitbart. They don't have any characters. They don't have any famous people telling the other side of the story in Australia. And that's why it's so popular. All of a sudden, there's somebody who's actually, reporting from the streets of the protests, reporting on the police brutality there, because literally all the other things, it'd be like if there was only CNN, MSNBC, and everything else. Only 25 million people in the country, but still, it'd be like if there was literally no Rebel News. There's a place called True North, Post Millennial, or All Canadian, Western Standard's another one. They didn't have any of that stuff in Australia. And then Avi comes out. He's already a popular guy, a couple 100,000 subscribers. And all of a sudden now they've got somebody speaking their language, so to speak, because you can't really understand them. There was another guy who would have had the world given to him, and he didn't want to do it. So now there's a couple other people in Australia. And now there's a guy named Lewis Brackpool in the UK. Lewis Brackpool. He'll be on my show in a couple of weeks. I don't think that's his real name.
I like the accent, though.
We have a video here. I don't know why I got rid of the other one. Jim Acosta freaking out about Trump. He's saying like he's so dark and evil. I haven't watched the whole thing yet, but it sounded funny. Let's take a look.
When you do stand next to him, ask yourself, can you feel the darkness that fills his soul, filling yours too?
Wow.
It feels cold, doesn't it? In Trump world, they're calling it Make America Great Again. If it sounds like a bad sequel, we can only imagine what the closing scene of that sequel looks like. On Inauguration Day 2025, if Trump returns to power, which flags will the bullies drape across the Capitol?
Wow.
Ours or his?
They will drape the American flag. I thought that's obvious. I mean, whenever you see a Trump flag, there's also an American flag. I don't know, like, even if people who hate Trump would say anything other than that. People who hate Trump say the American flag is evil. Of course it's going to be like, Jim Acosta's, like I said earlier, he is a calm version of Keith Olbermann. He doesn't make any sense. He just thinks that like saying things that are anti-Trump are enough. If I came out here and just be like, Madonna showed her butt on camera, it's evil. What do you think Madonna supporters think? Do you think Madonna supporters don't think that's evil? Don't you think they know that it's evil? No, like you have to say things that actually make sense. What flag are they going to fly? Their own or America? Well, you told me last week that American flags are evil and racist.
Yeah. Look, none of this makes any sense. And this is the same network, or maybe it was MSNBC. I forget who. Back when Biden was inaugurated, they said, "Oh, this is the lights at the Capitol." What is that? There's like that body, that little pool or that little fountain near the Washington Monument, and it was all lit up. And they're like, these lights are like the arms of Joe Biden wrapping around the American
populace.
I remember
it's like
these guys, they're, I don't know, maybe sycophantic or fanatical or whatever it is. I mean, these people are just on a completely different planet. And I think
I want to find that. Hold on. Go ahead.
That they are the only people that are still pretending to enjoy this. Even the left, obviously the hard left, the crazy left, they don't like the Democrats. They were just used as pawns to wreak havoc on the country, but they never really liked the Democrat. They turned on Obama back in 2010. Occupy Wall Street in 2011. So they don't really like politicians either. So, and obviously the Trump people, the right wing, the conservative, the common sense, nobody likes Joe Biden. The only people left is the actual media establishment, which goes without saying because the media establishment is in effect the Democratic Party. If we didn't have a completely crooked and corrupt media, none of this would be happening. I almost solely blame the demise, the decay occurring in this country on the media, and they're the only ones left going to bat for this guy. Nobody. I think you could go talk to somebody. You could go talk to somebody in I was gonna say Beverly Hills, but Beverly Hills is actually notoriously kind of conservative, it's like by California standards. Nobody likes the guy. Nobody's left. I don't understand. It's just them fighting for him at this point.
This was in January for the inauguration, I think. CNN's political director, David Chalian, said Tuesday during the inauguration. Yeah. The lights set up around the reflecting pool at the National Mall to remember the 400,000 Americans who have died are like extensions of Joe Biden's arms embracing America. Let me tell you something. You don't want Joe Biden's arms embracing you. That's going to lead to sniffing. That's going to lead to questions about your age. Excuse me, little girl, are you 17? Then she'll say, I'm actually 9. Then he'll say, no dating until you're 30. Because, I don't know what that means, really. It's really creepy. But you don't want Joe Biden embracing you. Then he's going to get a photo with you, and he's going to put his hand right here and go like this, which is what we've seen. Don't like it. Go look it up. It is what it is, Eric Butler. Let's get some bills paid here, as we like to say on this show and many other shows. New York City Gotham Unglued is available. Where? On Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I have it behind me. Eric Scott is in his hands right now. There's a picture you posted, I think, from it the other day from New York, where it was literally just a guy. He looked like he was in a body bag. I think it was just a homeless guy sleeping.
That was from one of my New York friends who's still there, who gives me updates every now and then. That's what that was from. But it did look like it could have come directly from the book. That's why I posted it.
It was hilarious. And then, of course, he's on TatumReport.com. Let's see if I can find one of your latest articles here. Am I going to see it? Eric Butler, there's one. Yeah. January 6th committee issues subpoenas for prominent Trump supporters. And I think we were talking Brandon Straka just found not guilty or his charges dropped. So shout out to Brandon Straka. He is, what was he in charge of? Walk away?
Walk away, yeah. Yep.
Right. And then we can switch on over to rebelnews.com together /Andrew_says. We will see his latest episode, which is also me. Don't get censored. Sign up. Your medical privacy is gone with Hillary Kennedy from the Blaze. We talked about the NBA players being forced to get the vaccine. We talked about the border and the illegal immigrants under the bridge in Texas that were there. And, of course, we talked about Jen Psaki as well and how terrible she is because, gingers and whatnot. Before we
it's just
go,
you and Matt Walsh who will continuously pronounce the P in Psaki. I think the P is silent, but there's a couple of people that just won't respect it.
That's too bad. What language is this? Psaki, where we're not pronouncing the P. I want to know.
I don't know.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
you cite her background for me, which is ginger, and we'll pronounce it right. Before we go, we have The Simpsons predicted it, or The Simpsons did it already. You sent me this with why don't you tell the people what it is?
Well, it's an Instagram reel, but it's an old clip from The Simpsons where they are doing a very similar song and dance about pharmaceuticals. And you'll notice in it, they even give a direct shout out to Pfizer by name, if you watch it.
Guys, look at this shit. Look at this shit. Closely.
It's hard to see.
Closely. Look at that shit.
Well, the thing is, it's very possible that the Colbert people could have just ripped it off.
This is very true.
We got copyright claim for that, you guys. We showed two of Stephen Colbert's ultra cringe bits about getting vaccinated. One was, I would walk 1,000 miles, that song. I would walk 5. Yeah, that song. And then instead of the tequila, it was vaccine. It made no sense. He's dancing with old ladies in the audience. It's not funny. Copyright claimed, even though fair use under every ground. It's just they don't want people making fun of it. I'm convinced that, when you get to a certain level on YouTube, you get a YouTube like person that you can communicate with. I'm confident saying CBS emailed their person, said, take down all the people that use this clip. No questions asked, CBS, because you're our authoritative source.
I would think, he knew these are business people. These are, fairly cutthroat business people. This is a mainstream media network. I think that I would assume that they wanted the discussion. They knew this wasn't gonna change anybody's opinion, I should say, wasn't gonna change anybody's mind. I was under the impression that they just wanted people to talk about it. It's free press. They know that that's not gonna convince anybody like me or you to go out and get the shot, but rather we would just talk about it and it would go viral and it'd get more views and more clicks and turn more money for them. But maybe that's not what they wanted. I guess because I don't know. It's nothing makes sense anymore. So
you're just holding out because you're controlled opposition. I think that's all the time we have. We should have a guest next week, everybody. We're working that out. Might be somebody from Getter, Sonny Nelson. I shouldn't have said that because what if they
I was just gonna say, like, why would you do
We're trying. It should be though. Otherwise, we've got other people. We've just been, trying to go hard in the paint. We've got the new channel up. If you just search Unauthorized Opinions on YouTube, you'll see it there. We'll start putting it out more. We're going to get some ads out there, Eric. I'm working on that. Buy Eric's book. It's behind me. You can't see it. It's next to Kramer. There's Eric's book. Rebelnews.com. Andrew says on there, Eric Butler, Tatum Report. Eric Tatum Butler Report, whichever you guys want to go with. Any closing words for the millions and millions of viewers?
No, well, a little bit. Just bear with me. Okay, sorry. Bear with me. Okay. I'm getting settled. Got the new location, and we're gonna be at 110%. The content is gonna be amazing once I finally settle down and stop moving for good. No more moving. This is it. I'm ready to take it to the next level.
You're gonna be in your Minority Report chair, doing all this stuff.
I'm gonna have double monitors. Crimes. And I'm gonna be following all the Joe Biden press conferences and Bitcoin crashes and market crashes.
Bitcoin's up.
Well, for now.
For now, that's 60 something again. Ethereum's up.
Wow, did it hit 60 again? I haven't checked it in a couple days.
I think it is.
I heard it hit 55 a couple days ago.
I could be wrong.
I've been driving around and looking for places, and I haven't been able to. And hiking, a lot of hiking. I'm going to get in shape. I went on a hike and almost 90 degrees. I thought I was going to die twice, so I got to work on that.
Canadian Thanksgiving up here, so thank you for giving your time to us. And yeah, we'll catch you guys next week.
Peace.